Hi everyone, this is Luke Sinclair, the Director of Customer Success with Swoop Analytics, joined today by Ron Perazza from Wiley, who is going to share with us a little bit of a story about how Wiley are successful with Yammer and Swoop. Hi Ron, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So let's start off with, start at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about Wiley and tell me about your role there.
So Wiley is a academic research and education publisher. They're involved in a lot of areas of business across that spectrum. That's a super simple way of looking at it. And my role there, I'm the director of communications platforms. So I'm part of the communications team, but I focus mostly on the technology behind it.
Okay, awesome. I know you have been a customer of Swoop now for about 3 years. Tell me about the driving forces that were sort of behind your original decision to bring Swoop on board. I'd love to know what kind of problems you were looking to solve.
Yeah, we were involved in as part of the communications team. We were involved in an effort to help support our human resources group around performance time, and they were very interested in engaging employees using Yammer during that time period around what's involved in the performance process and how they can access helpful videos, or if you're a manager, how you can evaluate your employees and so on and so forth. And so they wanted to engage employees on Yammer at that time. And so we needed a tool that allowed us to track that engagement across the entire business. So we have employees around the world. We have offices in cities all over the place. So it was important to be able to get that message out to everybody, but also to make sure that message was understood, or where people had questions, to be able to see where those pockets were. And so we partnered with Swoop, and then we used the analytics platform to track that program, and it was pretty successful.
Did you use any analytics before Swoop?
Just the base Microsoft analytics.
Okay, cool. I know the transition to remote working has been significant for you guys. I mean, it has for all customers. 2020 has been quite the ride on all fronts. Tell me, what sort of changes have you seen in the way your users, using Yammer during this transition to communicate internally?
Yeah, Yammer exploded for us once we started to transition to remote work, and it was pretty fascinating to watch from an analytics side, to see the increased activity and to see the increased interest in Yammer as a platform for not just like social communication, but to do business as well. We have a few of our senior leaders who started to transition what normally would be the kind of, let's gather to the department together for this particular event or at the start of this particular project, and they started to transition that into Yammer and have that kind of dialogue happen in that space instead. So that was really kind of interesting to see, and to see how people used it differently. One of the key challenges I think that everybody had when we started to transition to working from home is that all of our kids were also home. And so we saw a huge uptick in activity around the parenting groups, or around the wellness groups, the exercise groups and things like that, like people giving advice on how to get in a healthy routine, meal times, or break up your workday to help support your kids at school, or sharing resources for different online learning. So Yammer was like the focal point for all of that activity, in a way that it wasn't when we were all going to the office every day. And that, again, that was like globally, it was across offices everywhere. So it was nice to see that kind of reaction happening from office location to office location.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest one of the biggest things for me was I had to make my lunch every day. I talked to a few customers who they said they heard people sharing recipes and things like that because they just couldn't buy their lunch like they were used to. So that was
Yeah, we saw that
communication.
same thing. It was a whole series of groups about cooking from home, which was
Yeah.
it was fantastic.
How do we make sweet green or chopped salads at home?
Yeah, yeah.
uh, Um, okay, cool. Can you tell me how Swoop has helped Wiley understand the effectiveness of your sort of campaign strategy or communication strategy, sorry, during this time? Is there any parts of Swoop that you think really had the most impact, or anything that you guys really love to use over there?
Yeah, we really got into the use of topics, and we use them in a bunch of different ways. So from a communication side, when we all started to work from home initially, we partnered with people in the communications group, people in the technology group, and in human resources, and we established these topics for each of these kind of major initiatives. So there was like Wellness Wednesday or Technology Tuesday or different things like that, and then the communications group would message around these topics and encourage responses or encourage interactions around that. So like for example on around technology, every time we did a training session for teams or something like that, we'd release that information on Technology Tuesday, and then it would encourage people to to engage on that topic. So that was like one way we use topics. And then another way we use topics pretty extensively is we have a community specifically for Office 365. And we encourage users in there when they ask questions, because there are a lot of questions, especially as we transitioned to work from home. People had a lot of questions about using Teams for different types of meetings, or how to use OneDrive to transfer files back and forth, or whatever, all the things that would come up when you're not in the same office with somebody and you have to do that digitally now. So we would track the application that they had a question about in our Office 365 community. And then what that let us do in Swoop is we could then see that activity, and we could see which of those topics were generating the most interactivity, and then we could kind of react to that. So, for example, like if we saw that early on, we saw that Teams there was a lot of activity around Teams, questions around Teams, and different functionality. And so, what that let us do then is create videos about the different features in Teams, like how to host a Teams live event, or how to add external users to your team. So we could create videos around that, and then release those videos back into distribute those videos back on Yammer in those groups. So it was created kind of a cycle that Swoop let us know what was happening, so that we could then react to it in a more targeted way.
Yeah, I love that. So so many of our customers have really found the sort of topic keyword search functionality awesome, because you just can't get that sort of across the network view in any other way. I know just the COVID coronavirus example alone is one we talk about a lot, where people have our customers have been able to really see what people are saying, how they're sort of reacting to all these changes, by using that sort of very deep keyword search feature. So awesome that you guys have some real world examples. I love it when you can find something in this digital workspace and then make a change in the real world. Well, I guess if we had a real world,
Right.
the sort of faux half real world. Do you have any advice for communications or digital workplace specialists who are looking for analytics? I know some people who are watching this might not have an analytics platform, might be considering Swoop and others. Any sort of advice for them?
Yeah, when we launched our Yammer network, there was a lot of debate around what would it be used for. What value would it bring to people? And I think The tendency is to think that you have this work tool, and so therefore it's for work, and and that's it. And so we were pretty successful early on, convincing people that, like, let's not limit ourselves to only talking about work at work, right? Like, we have to acknowledge that is a community here that exists beyond just the work we are doing. And so Yammer became the digital version of that community, and you have to allow for people to have fun there, or to have casual conversations. Like I said, talk about parenthood, talk about your pets, talk about your other interests, your outside work interests. And those sorts of activities allow people to bond in ways and to connect in ways that are in some ways deeper than we happen to be working on this project together. And so therefore we have project details to discuss. There's a lot of ways you can discuss project details, but there's a whole nother world of getting to know your coworkers and interacting with them, bonding with them, and engaging with them when you have that larger view of things. And regarding Swoop specifically, once you create that environment, then the analytics allow you to have a view of that environment, to see what's working and what's not working, or where there might be challenges, or where employees might be having more questions, or whatever the case may be. I mean, there's a million types of groups that you could use analytics to get insight into the groups. But the first step is not taking yourself too seriously, and letting people interact in casual ways, and then using the analytics to be informed about how people are working and how people are engaging.
That's awesome. And I know, over at Wiley, you guys had a lot of success with Yammer, and I'll put in a little plug for this year's Yammer benchmarking report that's coming out sort of mid-November, I think. We complete the world's largest benchmarking study of Yammer and teams, and I know that over at Wiley, some of your groups have appeared in the top sort of the top tranche of groups globally that we looked at. So that's exciting. Congratulations! I know that you guys are going to be featured in the report, so I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, oh my.
Okay, look, this was awesome. Thank you so much for spending a bit of time sharing the Wiley story. It's always a pleasure.
No, thank you for inviting me.
We will talk again soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ron.